Hello, my lovely edge dwellers. This is Ask Lucca Live, episode 14 on Saturday, June, I have to look up, Saturday, June the 20th. And I'm Lucca Hallex, Power Sorcerer. And we're just waiting for people to finish assembling before we get started here. So we have about 2 more minutes. So if you're just if you're watching this in repeats or in the recording, then if you go about 2 minutes in, you'll find the beginning. If you want to skip everybody coming together. Hi, Deanne. Nice to have you here. I think I'm just having a look. Yes, you're the first. Something kind of special about being the first. Hi, Harrison. I think, Harrison, this is your first time with us. So here, I'm gonna touch the wave button. I'll wave at you. I've never done that before. So, yeah, I like to come on a few minutes early just so that everybody can kind of arrive before we get started. So, yeah. Hi. It's I watched that. It's like there's a magnet in that little bottom corner of my screen, so I can see who's here. Yeah, it is nice. It's nice to have you here. Deanne says it's nice to be here live, and it is. There's something special about even if you don't have a question that day, there's something special about being here when we're actually doing it together. Something about the energy. So there's 2 of us so far. I think I've got about 7 questions, so I'm pretty sure there's going to be 7 people showing up. Hi, Desiree. Nice to have you here. Everybody checking in from all over. I did a reading this morning with somebody who's from Ireland, and I thought he was in Ireland because it's not unusual for me to have somebody checking in from somewhere else. And I'm reminded of that because Desiree's in the Yukon. Hi, Lisa. And I said to him, "Where are you in Ireland?" And he looked at me like I was crazy. And he lives 2 streets over from me on the other side. I just, it's this teeny tiny universe thing, right? Hi, Maddie Ruth. Okay, so we've got, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started so that we don't lose any of our precious time here. Hi, Nina. So, welcome to Ask Lucca Live, episode 14. I can't believe we've done 14, well, almost 13 of them so far, so it's amazing. I have pinned in the comments, hi Flora, a few notes that I like to give everybody to have a look at about how I do what I'm doing and what you should keep in mind while I'm doing it. The most important of which is that your gut feel about what's right for you is more important than anything anybody can say to you, and that includes me, because I'm still here in an earth suit. I can still misinterpret a symbol or get time wrong or whatever, just like anybody else can. So if I can leave you with one thought, that is that if anything doesn't feel right to you, put it in a holding tank and wait to get validation on it before you act on it. So that's my first piece. So I'm tuning in to my guides, my higher self, any angels that happen to be around, any dead relatives, dead pets, that kind of thing, and any entities from the intergalactic realm, for me and for all of you. So, hi Tracy. So this is, it's a full house. We've got lots of help around here. So when I'm tuning into you, I'm picking up your aura, and I'm picking up all those different levels. Your aura is more immediate, so it tells me what's going on for you physically and right here in this very moment. It's more immediate. So warm puppy in your arms gives you one reaction, and yelling fire gives you another one. Those are the examples that I like to use. So that's my preamble. At the very end, I will spend a few minutes extra telling you how you can get in touch with me if you'd like to do a private session with me, how you can reach me to do that. all the social media connections and all that kind of thing. I put all of those at the end, so you can stick around for a few minutes extra at the end if you're interested in that. And so just so you know where it is. And so if you're watching this in the recording, then you just go to the last few minutes and you'll be able to get the contact information. So I'm going to go in and have a look at what we've got in the questions today. The first one is from Tasia, and she says, will my surgery for my arteries for my legs be soon after the other surgery? I so want the surgery for my legs so I can walk, travel, and hike a little. I'm tired at 3 p.m. Right leg blocked 90%, left leg 70%. So the question about this is, will the surgery for my arteries for my legs be soon after the other surgery? I know this isn't particularly useful, but they're saying to me that it will be, it's not determined yet because of scheduling around surgeries and about what's going on with COVID and the different stressors on our medical system. They might say it's coming up and it might be delayed. So it's not, right now, there isn't anything that's tied down, hi Judy, that I can give you a specific time about. So you're going to have to kind of tune into your own intuition and see. My sense is you'll have it, but how soon, I can't, there isn't any information there for me to give you. Hi Chantel. So, question number 2 is from Harrison. Harrison says, when an unreal amount of coincidences coincide consecutively and continuously, is the messaging in fact as clear as it appears? Yes. That's the short answer to that one, is yes. So here's what happens. You know how they say birds of a feather flock together? Well, energy is like that. Like attracts like. So when you're thinking about something, and even if you're not noodling it here in your brain, but you're yearning for something, you're wishing, you're lamenting, you're shaking your fist at the sky and saying, for God's sake, help me with this. What that does is it calls in information. And the information is going to come to you through all of your different access points. So that includes it comes through your aura or your energy field that sits around you, but it's coming in through your higher self, which is the part of you that's too big to fit in your earth suit and has a broader perspective. It comes in through your guides and helpers. It comes through angels, or whatever that energetic realm is for you, if you don't use that word, but it's a higher level of than your guides. It comes in, I always say it comes in and goes, oh, hi Chris. It goes, oh, and then it delivers they deliver information and they're out, but it feels, hi Ruth, it feels like the love that comes through with the angelic realm is stunning. And then there's the intergalactic realm. So all of those levels are trying to deliver information to you. And they will give it to you in the language that you understand best. So I work a lot with symbols for me, and information will come to me in dreams, it comes to me in synchronicities, all kinds of different ways. And if they're all piling up on top of one another, then they're even more reliable. It's like your guides and helpers are using every route in to tell you to get that message to you. So that's your answer. I'm giving you a little bit more of background information, Harrison, about that. Unreal amount of coincidences coincide. Well, yeah, it's like that's their version of shouting, so that you can be heard. And you might need more information about that, but in this environment, I'll answer your question, and then you can go around and go back and play with it and see what that reveals to you. All right, so play, Harrison. Remember, keep it curious and light and fun, because that keeps the energy channels open. It's much easier for the information to come through to you when you're doing it that way. Okay, so next one is from Jill, Jill says, Jill has quite a long point here, but I'm going to read it all out to you because I think that this is going to apply to a lot of you who are listening. So Jill says, what is most important for me to focus on at this time for the benefit of all beings or for the greatest good? And I think that a lot of us who are in service on this planet in some way, we're concerned about that right now. We're watching what's unfolding economically and politically and socially in the social fabric of our, and that includes the Black Lives Matters and all of that piece of it. We're concerned about what's going on for the greatest good. And are we doing what's needed, High Divinity? Are we doing what's in the best interests, not just of ourselves, but of our communities, of our families, of our planet, right? So this is what Jill is asking about. She says, it feels like there's so much that needs to be released, changed, healed, etc. And I have often been feeling overwhelmed and paralyzed. So this is why I'm reading this out, because I think this has been happening for a lot of people. Advice about the question was actually given recently. It was to focus on helping others, and that resonates as true, but I'd like to ask for any additional guidance, more related to the how, where part in helping, or anything else that would give direction. So here's what they have to say about that, and it's been coming out of my mouth a lot over the past week, since the last time we were gathered here. And that is, if it flows, it's probably the right thing for you. And not every person on this planet is put here to do the same thing. We are all unique, hi Camellia. We're all unique beings, and we come to share our unique gifts. So one of the things that they've been saying to me over and over again is that service for all of us is offering service from my highest good so that I can help you with your highest good. So from mine to yours. So that means that if I'm a chef, I shouldn't be repairing cars. It's not in my wheelhouse. It's not the best use of who I am. Hi, Steve. Or what I'm doing, or how to best utilize my gifts in the world. So you want to take a look at, make an inventory, a playful inventory of what it is that you have. In sociological terms, we could say, what is your privilege? That's one thing. But one of our privileges is our gifts. So I'm privileged to have a great gift of intuition, and so I use it, and it gives me great pleasure to use it, and so therefore I'm happy. Hi Donna. I light up when I'm using it. So what is the gift that you have that you light up when you use it? And it may be money. Like, you may be a person who just arrived in this world to a lot of money and a lot of power and privilege, maybe because of the color of your skin, maybe because of your socioeconomic environment, whatever it is. So give from whatever it is that you have that makes you feel good, that you ache to share. And so this should not be about martyrdom. This is not about great sacrifice. This is about, what do I have to share? What do I have an abundance of? And where can I best share it? So, and the where part, to come back to what Jill asked about, is where you have access. So if you have to hammer down the door and your knuckles are getting bloody from hammering on the door, then maybe that's not the best way in. Maybe you just need to crawl in the window or go around the back. Or maybe you need to deliver it to the house next door. It's not meant to be hard. It's the intention behind it that is going to give you the cues and the clues around how to do it. So I hope that's helpful to you, Jill. All right, so Lisa is next. Lisa says, and I there might have been a typo in here, so I don't completely understand the first part of the sentence, but it says, am I with the recent unconnected passing of 3 dear loved ones within a month. Is the universe suggesting that I look for a career in end-of-life doula-ing or hospice work? Why all the abandonment? So when somebody moves on, we can look at it that we're being abandoned, or we can look at it that it's their time to move on. Everybody's moving on now. And the best way for me to explain this to you is if you go on a holiday that's a weekend getaway, and somebody else, and you're joining somebody else who's got the cottage that you go to for a month. Are you abandoning them if you go home after the weekend? Because you were only ever supposed to be there for the weekend, right? So this is not abandonment, it's timing. And if you also think about it as people who die go into a different room in your house, you still have access to them, but it isn't physical access anymore, then it doesn't seem like they've abandoned you, because that's it. You never have contact with them ever again. So, and your need for them is what calls them in. So if you do a meditation, for example, or you journal or something like that, and then they'll come through because you've called them. It's like phoning somebody. Now, they may not be available right in that moment. In fact, it's usually the other way around, because there's no time and space where they are. It usually has to do with that may not be the best time for them to give you what you're asking for. So they will wait until it is the optimal time to get it through to you, or they'll give it to you and you won't recognize it for what is being given to you. So once you ask for something, you want to be open to it coming through. So now, to come back, I digress there for a moment, Meryl. I am coming back to your question here, which is, is it suggesting that you have a career in end of life doula-ing or hospice work? If that's what you're supposed to be doing, it will be easy for you to get into. You will be naturally drawn to it. There will be circumstances around you that are the best use of your gifts. Now, what I get about end of life stuff for you is that you might work in it, but you'll move through it and into something else that is related to it, but isn't what you would define as this right in this present moment. So they don't always give straightforward answers to your questions. It's a good next step to consider it, but keep your mind open as you do it. And the biggest message for you here, Meryl, is reframe abandonment as moving along. So not only are they not abandoning you, but you are not abandoning anybody else either. When it's time to move on, it's time to move on. So that's your answer for your question, Meryl. I hope that's helpful. No, it's not Meryl. It's Lisa. Sorry, Lisa. I looked down here. There's something about the Meryl part that's important to this question, because otherwise I wouldn't be consistently misreading your name, because the Lisa definitely comes first. So I don't know what Meryl symbolizes to you. Maybe that's the family part that died. I don't know. But the Meryl is important here. So maybe you want to meditate on that a little bit. Carry it around with you. Put it in your pocket, your breast pocket. Carry it around with you. All right. Maddie Ruth. I grew up in a small town in East Texas, and I'm going to read all of this one too, which is quite long, because I think that this speaks to the whole issue of feeling displaced, and where do I really belong, and how important is it that I am somewhere other than where I perhaps expected to be. So here's what Maddie Ruth has to say. I grew up in a small town in East Texas on a beautiful lake and surrounded by a wonderful community of family and friends. 6 years ago, I left my home state for graduate school. I'm now married and living in Ohio. I love my life and my community here too, but often feel split between two lives, two selves, my past and my future. Especially now as I approach the time of life where I start my own family, I grieve being so far from my roots and my parents. Is Ohio my forever home? How do my guides recommend I respond to the grief I feel? The grief is entirely appropriate. because anytime we let go of something, it's a grieving. And it you know, might not last 5 years, but it's a grieving. You think of it this way, that when you were sitting up there on your proverbial metaphorical puffy white cloud saying, okay, this is what I'm ordering up for this lifetime, you said, oh sure, to do what I want to do, I need to have roots in Texas and in that kind of family and community life. Having grown up in that, you know it. You know it in your cells. You know how to make community. You know what authentic community feels like. And so you can replicate that. And when you start your family, you will replicate that. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't any sense of family or community in Ohio. I mean, Ohio is not bereft of family and community. But it's a different one for you. Now, when you got to Ohio, you brought in another piece with you. It woke up something else in you, which has to do with adaptability. And that's also part of community, because in a community, you will always have people who leave and people who are incomers from somewhere else. And so you didn't have to do a lot of adapting when you were in Texas. It was a stable community, is what they're telling me. And I don't know if it looked stable or if it was stable on an energetic level, but it was stable. Where you are now, you're an incomer. And you affected the community you left by being an outgoer. You were a leaver, right? You left. And they thought you were coming back again, and it turned out that you didn't. But every community feels this. It's like there's a ripple every time someone goes through the edge of the community and bursts out and then pokes their way into another community somewhere else. But for every one that goes, another one comes in. So and if you leave one, you're going to probably go into another. So now you know what it feels like to be in a stable community, but you also know what it feels like to be an incomer. And that everything flexes to take you in. Now think of your community as the planet. So you are an earthling. The earth is your community. So what you did was you moved from one room to another. And so they're encouraging you to think of it that way. There is something really valuable about it. It's like bees. The bee goes into a flower and it rubs its bum around in all the pollen in there, and it goes to another flower and it takes the pollen from that flower to the next one. And this is how we have pollination. Well, you're doing the human equivalent of pollinating. Now, your question was, is Ohio my forever home? I don't think that Ohio is your forever home, but it is for the next little while. So what you want to be asking yourself is, does this feel right for me and my little family right now? And of course, you're not the only one weighing in on this one. So you're taking, this is community, right? You have to take other people's needs into consideration at the same time. So you will keep asking that. And when you get a message that it's not feeling right anymore, it might just be for one of you at first, and then it might be for two of you, right? But you're balancing it all the time. When it's time for you to move, you will know. And my sense is, as things stand at the moment, there will be an invitation. So as I'm telling you this, extrapolate for all of the rest of you out there that this is how changing communities works. It's not all of it. I could probably write a thesis on it, but these are some pieces for you to put into the hopper and process. That you're not just the person who leaves, you're the person who arrives. And in your group, there are people who are going to leave. And then there are the people who are going to arrive. And look at them as gifts. What are they bringing with them that's valuable? And what do you take with you on your the body of your beingness, your beingness, that you're spreading around where you get to? So it's a more inclusive way of looking at it, and one that isn't quite so bereft. Okay, so Adam. Adam says, I have been experiencing a growing pain in my left jaw, right at the hinge. I would like to know what is the root cause of this pain, nutritional, emotional, structural, something else. The first thing that comes to me, Adam, is do you have your wisdom teeth yet? Because often something that's right in the jaw, especially if it's only in one side, because it could be TMJ stuff, but when a wisdom tooth is pushing, so you wanted to know what was at the root of it, right? What's the root cause? Well, I suspect it is a root. I think it's a root, the root of your wisdom tooth. It'll come in and it'll settle into place if it's your wisdom tooth. Now, but that's on the physical level. At the stage in our lives when a wisdom tooth would come through, if we had a wisdom tooth, it's a passage. It's marking a passage in our lives from one state of being to another. My sense, and for you, this is your left jaw. So the jaw has to do with decisions. So the left jaw is going to have to do with emotional decisions. So I would guess that you're making some kind of emotional decision, or decision that's going to impact you and those you love emotionally. So think about that as an emotional undercurrent to this. I'm getting the sense that this could be shifted energetically. So you know, if you've tried like medical things, like medicinal kinds of things, then you might want to try somebody who can do some manipulation. So either somebody who works with something like qigong or craniosacral stuff, or even someone who works with the bone structure of the body in some kind of, I'm getting subtle way. So I'm not suggesting that you go to a chiropractor and be cracked. Although if you can find a chiropractor who works on the subtle level, then that might be good as well. So that's what I'm getting. But what's behind it, what's under it, I think has to do with an emotional decision, and the wisdom behind it. Because I'm getting wisdom too, so I might be getting that symbolically. If you don't have any wisdom, some people don't have wisdom teeth. I only have them on the top, not on the bottom. That's just, and nobody's taken any out either. That's just the way I came. Okay, Steve is our next one. Steve says, do you see any big changes happening for me in the next while? Well, yes. When you ask yes/no questions, you get yes/no answers, and then they go in a little deeper underneath that. So, Steve, so I've got, yeah, when my head nods like that, I'm getting a yes. So we've got Steve's energy. Big changes. I don't know if you've already made a big career change, but my sense is that if you haven't, you've got one coming. What I'm picking up, and some of this might already have happened, so I might be picking it up in totality, but we're in the middle of it somewhere. What I'm picking up is that you were growing dissatisfied with what you were doing. And it's not that you don't do it well. I have the feeling that you can, but that's part of the indecision for you has been around, but I'm so good at it. And there's something about what it earns for you. But my feeling is that it's time for you to take a risk. And the risk has to do with something that you've always wanted and felt that not that you couldn't take the risk, but that taking the risk would be irresponsible in terms of the repercussions that it might have for you and therefore for other people around you. You know, sometimes if we take a risk and it doesn't pan out for us financially, and one of our friends or family members would step in to help us financially, and that would not be optimal for them, then we don't want to take the risk because we don't want that knock-on effect to people that we care about. So there's an aspect of that to this for you, Steve. But I have the feeling that it's time for you to take a risk, that you would enjoy it, that it would make you feel alive. There's something that's been feeling a bit dead for you lately, and it's this risk feels like it's professional, but I think that the professional side of it has a personal side too. Like it's kind of, either you have a lot of friends in your profession, or your profession affects your friendships, or there's some connection in there. But this is predominantly professional. So I hope that that's helpful for you. It'll at least get you pointing in the right direction, so that you're not wildly looking in the wrong direction, because we're more likely to find things if we look for them at least in the right direction. Okay, so that's for Steve. And then I had one comment here that was not a question but a comment. Desiree said, I'm looking forward to your live today. No real question today, knowing that they come with what we need to hear. And I just wanted to comment on that, because I do this work best when there's an impetus. It's like the oyster shell creating the pearl, that it needs the grain of sand. And your questions that you come with each week, especially as a group like this, when you witness one another's answers, it elicits from me. It's like it turns the tap on. I was thinking about, I was reading a book about, it's an apocalyptic book. It's not very cheerful for me to read at the moment, but it's about pandemic. But they're talking about siphoning gas out of cars to put into other cars or to feed generators. And when you're siphoning gas, you have to suck on the hose a little bit to get it moving, and then you can stick it into another container, and it will go through. And the risk is that you get a mouthful of gasoline, which is really horrible. But you need to, it's the priming the pump part, right? And what you guys do for this process is, when you show up with your questions and your curiosity and your expectation that something good will come out of it, you prime the pump that elicits this information flow through me, and then we all get to benefit. So you're just as important to this process as I am, and so therefore I thank you for coming. And even if you don't have a question, and you come and you sit and you witness and you hold the information that's coming through, and you're curious about it and have expectations about how valuable the input will be, the input that comes through me or through anybody else in the group or through you, that's just as important. That witnessing process is just as important. So whether you're coming and listening to it after the fact, because time and space don't really exist the way we think they do, or you're here and I can see you on the screen the way I can right now, right here, that part is important. So we're at 2:00, and that brings us to the end of our questions for today. So thank you so much for coming and joining us today. For those of you who are interested in other ways to get in touch with me, I'm offering for the duration of our shut-in time, and at the moment, as I see it, we're probably looking at that until about December. So I'm offering what I call ping mini readings. So that's 15 minutes for $30 Canadian. And you can book that through my website. And for that, you can send me 2 questions, and I will do my best to answer them in the time that we have available, bearing in mind that sometimes you might give me a question that's so big that it would take more than 15 minutes. So I'll give you the piece that I can in the 15 minutes, and that will at least get you started. But it makes it affordable, and it also makes it immediate for you if you've got something that you need right away, especially if we've worked together before, and then we've got shorthand, and we can just go like that and get it for you. I also I have changed my rate structure, so my prices are all there. So if you book a session with me, if you book an hour-long session reading, or if you want to look at doing a coaching contract with me, because my niche coaching for helping people to work with their intuition, especially professionally, is called Power in Your Back Pocket. And I do, if you're interested in that, if you'd like to know more about it, there's more information on my website, but also you can do an exploratory session, a 90-minute exploratory session with me where we'll get some work done and you can see what it's like to work with me and see if it feels good. So that you can book that through the booking page on my website as well. And I'm also trying to get started another one of my power circles, which is doing that in a group of people, and it's spread out over a longer period of time. And you build community of people who are also interested in using their intuition professionally that way. And the two can be combined. Those two can be combined. And so there's also an exploratory session for that that's free. If you're interested in an hour-long reading and you'd like to know a little bit more about that, you can book a free 15-minute session where I'll explain to you how I do what I do. It won't be a reading, but I will explain to you how I do what I do. So that's all the services that I have, and I'm doing this for the foreseeable future. I'll continue to do these half-hour Ask Lucca Live sessions on Facebook here. And once I get off here, I post the recording on my Facebook page and on the group page on Instagram and on YouTube. And the link to the YouTube channel is on the first page of my website, so you can find it that way. So that's all there. That's all there as well. So I'm open to chatting with anybody. That my rate schedule, if the prices that I have are out of reach for you at the moment because of what's going on economically for all of us, then use your intuition and make me an offer, and that's what I will bill you for. So, and I wrote about how I'm looking at rates and payment and the world that hopefully we will have unfolding after all of this as we come out at the other end of this. It's at the bottom of my menu on my website. There's a blog post about it. So if you'd like to read more about it, it's there, and it's also on my rates page on my website. So that's, I think, all the details that you need to have about this. Stay open and stay curious. We've been massaging energy here today. It's not just what I say, but the vibration of my voice while I say it. So be gentle with yourself for the next few days. If you feel like you need to sleep. If you need to stand in a shower and let the water run over you, do that. If you need to dream, if you need to meditate, journal, visit with friends, follow your bliss, because that's also part of the process. So thank you for being here today. It's been my absolute pleasure to serve you in this way. I love it, as you can probably tell. And until next time, stay safe and take care of each other.